If you take a look at this establishing credit shot, you can see here what could be construed as the lagoon on Gilligan's Island with huts. There's a little building here on the right, and this on the left is either a large thatched hut or some type of mountainous outcropping. I can't decide which. It would have been helpful if they could have actually used this location to do all of the lagoon shots. It's a nice lagoon to put huts around, but the vegetation around this lagoon doesn't really match what you see on the rest of the show. Look at these shots here involving the $1 bills. This medium shot shows the $1 bill, which is obviously fake money, punched on the pole. Then the close-up shot, you can see it's taped on, and this is a real $1 bill. And you can imagine they set up this shot and somebody said, oh, we forgot, we need this $1 bill. So somebody probably just went in their wallet and got one out and taped it on because they were afraid probably of ruining U.S. money by punching it on the pole. There are three things in this establishing shot that I wanted to talk to you about. Two of them I'm going to tell you now, and the third one I'm going to show you later in another episode where they use a much longer version of this shot. If you look to the left here under this palm tree, it's either a building or a mountain that you can see higher than the rest of the ocean line. Now, if it's part of the land, that would make the island awfully big once again. And this object here, I originally thought was some kind of dark jet exhaust trail, but as it turns out, I see more of them, so I'm thinking it's just blurred lint on the lens. They're there for the whole shot, and they don't change or disappear from frame to frame. Observe these "Don't Change Skippers" signs. For some reason, it looks like they used two totally different signs. I don't know why they would do that. It's kind of a primitive looking sign to start with. But look at this version, and what you can do is compare the letters, see the C before the H in change, how the top and bottom of the C line up pretty well with the H, and then the one just a few frames later, you can see a big difference in the relationship between those two letters. And it's also true with the R and S at the end of skippers. Here the R is clearly below the bottom of the S, and in this shot they're even. Also in the first shot you can see a little bit wider crack in the bottom board and what looks like a crack at the bottom right corner. And then I don't see that at all on this one. And finally, notice the evenness of the boards on the right-hand edge of this shot here on the left. And here they are staggered. So perhaps they just made two different signs just to have an extra one to be safe. And now compare the two shots where the skipper is holding the sign and how Gilligan is standing. And then immediately in the next frame, the skipper is holding it differently and Gilligan is groping at his pant leg. You can see in the upper left and bottom left corners of this shot, these little rounded blurred shadows. This can be the result of a couple things. Sometimes if a zoom lens is attached and the lens pulls back too far, you can actually see the edges of the lens, but more than likely it's a lens hood, which is put on to keep the sun off the lens. And since these are outdoor shots, that's likely what they did. And if you pull back the lens while there's a hood attached, you can also catch the corners of the hood. The best solution after you see that this has happened, since the subjects in this shot are pretty small anyhow, you can bring the shot in and crop it. Visually, it won't matter that much and you can lose the dark corners. This was fun examining these ballots. When the professor says the third vote is for the skipper, if you look at the top of the ballot, which would be the side facing the professor, it looks like it says vote 1 or vote once, so maybe at some point they did anticipate that the viewers would see these ballots. Then this is even more unusual when the professor says,
"The sixth ballot is for Gilligan."
You also see the vote once at the top, but if this is flipped and contrasted, it says skipper. Maybe they wrote these words on there so the professor would know what to say, but he doesn't say skipper, and apparently he had it figured out because it worked out okay. If you look at the box of esteemed tokens that Mr. Howell gives Gilligan, these are Anson Jewelry for Men cufflinks. I was able to find a picture showing these cufflinks from that era, so here's what they would look like in color. I had to look inside the lid, and you can compare the picture with the one in the show, and you can see the name and the little stars here match up. I remember watching this show as a child and having no idea what it was that Mrs. Howell liked.
I wish I knew who cooked these jelly sandads.
Oh, I did, Mrs.
I thought she said jelly sandads, D-A-D-S, and in reality they are sand dabs, which is a type of flounder, it seems. I don't know where the jellied part comes in, but that's what it is that she likes, and here is an example of that fish. Notice this bit of equipment in the back of this shot. When they do these scenes, they like to put a bunch of stuff around to make it look appropriate, and they did a good job here. This is a marine alcohol stove in the back. Here's a picture of one of these. It worked like a camp stove, but it used alcohol. This is another one. It's not really a mistake, but it always intrigued me that they sit around and drink out of gourds and coconuts and stuff like that. And here Mr. Howell is drinking out of this perfectly good glass. I don't think I've ever seen him use it before, and whether they have a whole set or not, we will never know.